Welcome back to the deep dive. We are plunging into a stack of material today that offers not just information, but potential ways to reshape how we navigate the world.
That's right. The source material we're exploring is this really beautifully designed infographic by Colby Colkin. It presents 7 distinct Japanese concepts, each one a powerful lens,
Yeah.
a unique tool for approaching life's challenges and opportunities.
And our mission today is to go deep into each one. We want to understand not just what the terms mean, but really unpack their essence, their origins, and crucially, how these ideas can become practical tools you can use right now.
Exactly. Forget abstract philosophy. Think actionable wisdom.
Yeah, this deep dive is your shortcut to being truly well-informed on these potent concepts and how they can actually make a difference in your daily life.
We'll be exploring a range of ideas that touch on growth, resilience, well-being, purpose.
Self-acceptance, endurance, it covers a lot of ground.
It really does. The 7 concepts are Kaizen,
Okay,
Kintsugi,
kintsugi,
Harahachibu,
hara-hachibu.
Ikigai,
Ikigai, heard of that one?
Ubatori, Wabi-sabi, and Gaman.
7 words, packed with centuries of collective wisdom. Let's peel back the layers and see what insights are waiting for us. Ready to jump in.
Absolutely. Let's start with the first one on our list, a concept that has made its way into boardrooms and self-help books alike. Kaizen. That's Kaizen.
Kaizen. I feel like I've heard that mentioned a lot in business, particularly manufacturing, right? Like quality control.
You're spot on, yeah. While its applications are broad now, its modern prominence certainly stems from post-World War II Japan.
Ah, okay.
It became a cornerstone, particularly in companies like Toyota, focusing on efficiency, quality improvement, and eliminating waste.
Right.
The literal translation is often change for the better, but it's best understood as continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. Okay, that sounds simple enough on the surface, but the core idea goes deeper than just get better, doesn't it?
It does. The key lesson of Kaizen, especially when you apply it beyond a factory floor to, say, our personal lives,
Right.
is to set small, achievable goals and commit to improving slowly.
Small goals.
Wow. The philosophy is that emphasizing small, incremental changes made consistently over time is far more effective and sustainable than aiming for these huge sudden transformations.
Okay, that immediately pushes back against a lot of the go big or go home mentality we see everywhere,
Yeah.
or the idea of the dramatic overnight success.
Exactly.
Why is the small step so powerful, according to Kaizen? What's the mechanism there?
Well, it's partly about how our brains work, Big changes often feel threatening. They trigger fear, resistance.
Yeah, the overwhelm factor.
Precisely. They demand massive willpower, which, let's be honest, is a finite resource. Think about that classic New Year's resolution to completely overhaul your entire life overnight.
Yeah, good luck with that by February.
Right. It's overwhelming, and most people burn out super quickly. Kaizen flips that on its head.
How so?
By making the change tiny, almost ridiculously easy, you kind of bypass that resistance. You lower the barrier to starting so much it's almost zero.
So it's not about needing this huge burst of motivation to make a massive leap.
Right.
It's more about creating a path so easy to step onto that you just start walking.
You got it. It's about building the habit of starting and then the habit of improving little by little. When you commit to a tiny action, it doesn't drain your willpower.
Okay.
It requires a small amount of discipline, but applied consistently.
And that consistency is the key.
That's where the magic happens. Doing the small thing day after day, week after week, those tiny changes compound.
Ah, the compounding effect, like interest.
Exactly like compound interest.
Yes.
Small deposits, consistent compounding leads to massive growth over time. Kaizen is the compounding interest of personal development.
That's a fantastic analogy. And the source material gives a great real-life example of this. The friend who wanted to write a novel. A novel feels huge.
Totally intimidating, like climbing Mount Everest, as
Yeah.
you said. So instead of saying, I need to write a novel, which feels impossible,
Yeah.
the friend applied Kaizen. They committed to writing just 300 words
Yeah.
every single day.
300 words.
That's
like, well, you could do that during a coffee break. It doesn't sound like much at all.
It doesn't, and that's
Yeah.
exactly why it works so well.
The psychological barrier just vanishes.
Gone. The task feels manageable. You don't need to feel divinely inspired or find huge blocks of free time. You just need, 10, 15 minutes? Maybe less?
But the outcome, that's the kicker. The example says by doing just 300 words a day, consistently, for 6 months, they clocked over 50,000 words.
which is, well on the way to a full first draft for many genres.
Incredible.
This example is textbook Kaizen in action. It shows how a goal that felt paralyzing became totally achievable through tiny, consistent action.
The small goal overcame the mental block.
Exactly. And the consistent action built momentum. It resulted in tremendous cumulative progress. That seemingly insignificant daily task produces substantial creative work.
So if we wanted to apply this ourselves, the tip is basically pick one area: fitness, learning, relationships, creativity, whatever.
Yep.
And set a goal so small it feels almost silly.
Almost silly, yes. The source suggests something like reading just one page of a book per day if you want to read more.
Just one page.
Or maybe doing one single push-up, meditating for 60 seconds, writing one sentence in a journal. The absolute key is manageability and consistency.
Okay, but how do you actually implement something that small? I mean, do you need a complex system, a checklist, a reminder app?
Whatever works for you to make it stick, to make it a habit. It could be linking it to an existing habit, habit stacking, like reading that one page right after you brush your teeth every morning.
Okay, makes sense.
Or using a simple tracking app, or even just putting a big X on a calendar each day you do it. The source really emphasizes tracking those small wins.
Why is that so important?
Because simply acknowledging that you did your one page or your 300 words today, that's crucial. It provides positive reinforcement. You're succeeding every day.
Right, because failing repeatedly at some huge goal is just demoralizing.
Totally. But succeeding daily at a small one, that's empowering. It builds confidence, builds momentum far more effectively.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the long-term benefit is exactly what the source highlights. Those pages will add up to books, and you'll develop a lifelong habit.
So it's not just about the output, the number of pages read or words written.
No, it's about becoming the kind of person who reads consistently or writes consistently or exercises or connects with people. Kaizen is a practice of deliberate becoming, one tiny, manageable step at a time.
That shifts the entire focus, doesn't it? From the daunting peak to the actual steps on the journey. It's powerful. And thinking about that journey, sometimes it involves dealing with things that break or go wrong along the way. Which I think leads us perfectly to our next concept.
Kintsugi.
Kintsugi, yes.
Yeah.
This is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery.
Right, but not just any repair. They use lacquer, right? Mixed with gold.
Lacquer dusted or mixed with powdered gold, silver, or sometimes platinum, yeah.
And visually it's striking because the repair isn't hidden at all. It's deliberately highlighted, isn't it? Precisely. That's the core philosophy. The breakage and the repair are seen as part of the object's history. They add to its story, its beauty, rather than being something shameful or something to conceal.
So the key lesson from Kintsugi is, what? That broken things can be fixed?
More than that, it's that no matter how broken things may seem, you can always put the pieces back together, and the repair itself adds value, character, and uniqueness.
Wow, that's such a profoundly different perspective from our usual tendency, especially maybe in the US, to just discard things that are broken. Or, see personal failures as something to hide away.
It really is. Kintsugi is a philosophy rooted in finding beauty in imperfection. It values history and transformation over erasure or disposal.
Instead of seeing a broken vase as ruined.
You see an opportunity for mending that results in something stronger, arguably more beautiful, and totally unique because of its history.
This feels like such a direct and powerful metaphor for our own lives, doesn't it? We all experience setbacks, failures, heartbreaks, moments where we feel cracked or shattered.
Absolutely. And Kintsugi encourages us to view those challenges, those moments of breakage, not as signs of inherent worthlessness or failures we need to sweep under the rug, but as experiences that shape us. They add depth, wisdom, and contribute to our unique, complex story. It's really a powerful practice in resilience.
So it prompts you to look for the opportunity for growth within the difficulty itself.
Exactly. Instead of thinking, I broke or I failed, I'm damaged goods, it's more like, okay, I was challenged, I broke here, and here is the strength, the wisdom, the gold I gained in putting myself back together, highlighting those very places.
I love that framing, highlighting the cracks with gold.
Yeah. The source provides the example of Sarah, a client who went through a devastating loss. Her business failed during the pandemic.
That's a huge break. A major life disruption.
Absolutely. But instead of being defined solely by that loss or just giving up,
She pivoted, right. Started something new.
yes, and the source makes a really crucial point here. She incorporated elements of her old business into her new one.
So metaphorically, she didn't just throw away the pieces of the broken business.
Exactly. She picked them up, examined them, what worked, what did I learn, what were the valuable parts, and she integrated them, mended them with the gold of new insights, new skills, a new direction that was forged in the fire of that hardship.
And ultimately, she actually credited that original failure, that break, as the catalyst for her later success.
That's the kintsugi mindset right there. The break wasn't the end of her story. It was the turning point.
It was the event that necessitated the repair, the pivot, the innovation.
Leading to the creation of something that was, as the source notes, even more impactful than what came before. Sarah's story perfectly illustrates how embracing the mending process, acknowledging the cracks, can lead to a stronger, more beautiful, and resilient future.
The application tip for us seems beautifully simple, yet profound. When you face a challenge, a setback, something that feels broken, pause.
Yeah, pause.
And actively ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow?
Practicing this tip is a conscious act. It's mental discipline, really. Instead of spiraling into negative self-talk or shame or despair.
Which is easy to do.
Oh, absolutely. Instead, you're deliberately prompting your mind to shift focus away from the pain of the break towards the potential of the repair.
And how does reframing it like that change your response?
It moves you from feeling like a reactive victim to adopting a more proactive, growth-oriented mindset. It's about recognizing, as the source puts it so well, that the cracks in your life don't define you, they shape you.
They become part of your unique pattern of strength.
Your hard-won wisdom, the intricate gold lines that make you you.
It completely transforms the narrative from tragedy to resilience.
Yeah.
Instead of hiding the scars, you see them as proof of your ability to heal and grow stronger.
Exactly. And that deep valuing of personal history, including the tough parts and finding strength through mending inwardly, not just outwardly, leads us nicely to our next concept. This one's very much about mindful physical well-being and listening to your inner state. Hara-hachibu.
Hara-hachibu. Yo. Okay, this is the practice of eating until you are 80% full.
That's the one. 80% full. It sounds incredibly practical, just grounded wisdom.
Where does this come from?
It originates from Okinawa, that region in Japan, famous globally for the extraordinary longevity and vibrant health of its residents.
The blue zone connection.
Exactly. It's not just some isolated dietary rule. It's part of a broader cultural emphasis there on moderation, mindfulness, and connection to one's body. The core idea is pretty straightforward. Savor your food and really tune into your body's subtle signals.
Subtle signals.
Just stop eating when you are satisfied, but not stuffed.
So the key lesson. Savor your food.
Yeah.
Let your body tell you when to stop.
Which is, let's face it, a profound challenge in our modern world of constant abundance, as the source calls it.
Yeah, food everywhere, huge portions.
Designed to be hyper-palatable, engineered to make you want more. And our culture often encourages eating really quickly, multitasking while eating.
Like eating lunch at your desk while working.
Right. Or eating based on external cues, the size of the plate, what everyone else is doing, rather than listening to our internal body signals. Hara-hachibu is the complete opposite of that.
It feels like we've lost the ability, or maybe just the patience, to listen for those quieter signals. That gentle fullness before we hit the point of feeling uncomfortably full, you know?
Absolutely. And the benefits of Hara-hachibu go way beyond just physical health, though it certainly contributes to better digestion, maintaining a healthy weight, maybe even longevity.
What else?
It fosters a truly mindful relationship with food. It transforms eating from what can be a mindless act of consumption
Rolling it in.
into a practice of conscious nourishment and self-respect.
Okay, but how do you actually train yourself to listen to those subtle signals again? It sounds like it requires a complete shift in pace and attention.
It does. It requires slowing down, consciously slowing down, and cultivating awareness. The source gives the example of a client who struggled quite a bit with emotional eating.
Okay. That's a common struggle.
Very common. And it's a perfect illustration of being disconnected from true physical hunger signals. Emotional eating isn't about nourishing your body.
It's about feeding feelings.
Exactly. It's using food to cope with feelings, stress, boredom. The body isn't signaling physical hunger. The mind or emotions are craving comfort.
So, by practicing Hara-hachibu, this client learned to actually differentiate between physical hunger and those emotional urges to eat.
Precisely. Tuning into signals in practice means shifting your attention inward instead of just automatically finishing the portion that's in front of you.
You pause.
You pause mid-meal.
Yeah.
You check in. Am I truly still feeling physical hunger cues in my stomach? Or am I just eating because it tastes good, or because I'm stressed, or because the plate isn't empty yet?
Asking those direct questions.
Yeah. This practical shift helped the client identify when they weren't genuinely hungry anymore.
And the outcome was weight loss, sure, but maybe more importantly, a healthier, more peaceful relationship with food overall.
The broader impact is really significant. It's not just about portion control, though that happens. It's about cultivating self-awareness, respecting your body's natural rhythms, and understanding the why behind your eating habits.
It helps you move from eating based on external rules or emotional states
To eating based on your own internal wisdom.
The application tip gives some really concrete steps. Appreciate flavors and textures. Put down your fork between bites.
Yeah.
And explicitly check in with your body using questions like, are you still hungry? Or are you just eating out of habit?
These specific actions are designed to disrupt the automatic, often fast-paced way many of us eat. By consciously appreciating flavors and textures, you engage your senses more fully, bring your attention to the food itself.
Making it more satisfying, maybe even of less.
Potentially, yes. Putting your fork down forces pauses. It gives your stomach crucial time to signal your brain about satiety because there's a natural delay there.
Right, that signal takes time.
And answering those explicit questions is the direct practice of mindful body scanning during the meal.
It sounds like a powerful way to reclaim the act of eating, making it less about just fuel or comfort and more about connection and intentionality.
Absolutely. These steps help you cultivate a deeper connection with your body and nourish yourself in a more intentional way, as the source puts it. It's a practice of conscious nourishment, guided by your own body's wisdom.
That mindful connection to the physical self is powerful. Okay, so shifting from physical nourishment and listening to the body. Let's move to a concept about finding purpose and meaning in life. That thing that nourishes you from within. Ikigai.
Ah, Ikigai. Yeah, this concept has gained a lot of international attention recently, hasn't it?
It really has.
And I think it's because it speaks to such a universal human need. Finding a reason to get up in the morning, a sense of purpose. Or, as it's often translated, a reason for being.
And it's most famously represented by that intersecting Venn diagram, isn't it, with the 4 circles?
It is. That diagram is a really helpful visual, a model representing the 4 core elements that, when they overlap, are often said to reveal your Ikigai.
Okay, let's break those down. What are the 4?
They are what you love.
Okay, passion.
What you're good at.
Skills, talents.
What the world needs.
Contribution, service.
And what you can be paid for.
Livelihood, profession.
Okay. So the key lesson is finding harmony between these 4 elements is what tends to create fulfillment and balance.
That's the aspiration, finding that sweet spot. It's about the synergy, right? Where your passion meets your talents, contributes meaningfully, and also sustains you financially.
When all 4 elements align, yeah, you often find deep satisfaction and a profound sense of purpose.
But what if they don't align perfectly? I mean, that seems like a tall order for many people. What if you love something, you're good at it, the world needs it, but you just can't get paid for it?
Or the opposite, right? You can get paid well, but you don't love it or feel it contributes much.
Exactly.
And that's where the nuance comes in. It's a crucial point that sometimes gets missed in simpler explanations of Ikigai. That diagram is a model for reflection, not some rigid box you have to fit into perfectly.
Okay, so it's a guide, not a prescription.
Exactly. The source implies that Ikigai isn't necessarily one single job title or some grand monolithic career path. It can often be found in the intersection of different parts of your life.
Oh, so?
Well, maybe your day job provides what you're good at and what you can be paid for.
Right.
But your Ikigai, that deep sense of purpose and joy, is truly fulfilled through a passionate hobby or maybe volunteer work that strongly aligns with what you love and what the world needs.
Ah, okay, so it's not necessarily about finding one single thing that ticks all 4 boxes.
Not necessarily, no. It's more about finding meaning and engagement across the different areas of your life. Pursuing aspects of your Ikigai, even if not all 4 circles perfectly overlap in just one activity, helps combat those feelings of aimlessness or dissatisfaction or burnout.
That can creep in when you feel disconnected from your passions or talents or sense of contribution.
Exactly.
The example of Hiroshi, the retired teacher, really seems to illustrate this flexibility and depth.
It's a perfect example. Hiroshi didn't go looking for another teaching job after retiring. He found his Ikigai in gardening.
Gardening. Okay, let's map that to the 4 elements.
Right. He deeply loved plants, and being outdoors, that's what he loves. Years of gardening had made him quite skilled at it, what he's good at.
Makes sense.
He noticed that many elderly people in his community struggled to access fresh produce, what the world needs.
A local need.
And he earned a modest income by teaching gardening workshops and selling some of his surplus produce, what he could be paid for.
That's beautiful because it shows Ikigai isn't just for your peak career years or exclusive to high-paying jobs.
Not at all.
It can be found at any age in something seemingly simple. And the financial compensation is just one piece of the puzzle, not necessarily the main driver.
Absolutely. And notice his gardening project wasn't just about him. It brought joy and health to his community, demonstrating that Ikigai often involves contribution and connection, not just personal gain. It proves you can find profound purpose outside the conventional definition of a career.
So the application tip for us is to dedicate some real time to reflect on those 4 core questions.
Yes. What do you love? What are you genuinely good at? What does the world actually need? Maybe starting with your own community. And how can you potentially earn a living or at least support yourself while pursuing these things?
That reflection process sounds key, but maybe challenging. It requires real honesty, doesn't it? And maybe some experimentation.
Definitely honesty and maybe experimentation. Realistically, exploring these questions might involve trying new things, talking to people in different fields you're curious about, maybe volunteering.
Doing some self-assessment about skills and values.
For sure. And what are the potential challenges? Well, sometimes what you love isn't what you're good at yet, or what the world needs isn't something you can easily monetize right now. It might require creativity, persistence, maybe a willingness to accept that your Ikigai is a combination of activities rather than one single pursuit.
But the payoff.
The potential payoff, as the source describes it, is huge. The possibility to uncover your purpose and direction in life through this deep, honest self-inquiry and engagement with the world around you.
It's about finding where your inner fire can meet and light up the needs of the world. A truly profound pursuit.
And speaking of finding your own direction, your unique path, that leads us beautifully to the next concept. This one is all about navigating your journey without constantly looking over your shoulder at what everyone else is doing. Ubitori.
Ubitori.
Yeah.
The name itself is a metaphor, right? For the characters for different trees, cherry, plum, peach, and apricot.
Yes, it's such a lovely, evocative image. Each of these trees blooms and bears fruit at completely different times of the year.
Right, they have their own schedule.
Exactly. They don't compare themselves to each other. The cherry blossom doesn't look at the peach tree and fret, "Why aren't my fruits ready yet?" They simply follow their own natural timeline, their own rhythm. Ubitori applies this principle to human life.
So the key lesson is pretty direct. Embrace your own unique timeline.
Just like the trees. This concept is such a powerful antidote to one of the most prevalent sources of anxiety and dissatisfaction in modern society, particularly, I think, in the U.S.
Social comparison.
Oh, absolutely. Social comparison, with social media constantly bombarding us with these curated highlight reels of other people's apparent successes.
Keyword. Apparent.
Keyword apparent, exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's incredibly easy to fall into the trap of comparing your own journey, your progress, your timeline, your accomplishments to others.
And the immediate result of that comparison is usually frustration, feeling inadequate, dissatisfaction.
Feeling like you're not enough, or you're falling behind, or you're somehow failing, when in reality, you're just on a different path with a different timetable.
It's a guaranteed way to feel miserable, isn't it?
Totally. Comparison is, as the saying goes, the thief of joy.
But
But beyond just stealing your joy, it also crucially diverts your energy.
how so?
When you're spending mental and emotional energy constantly comparing yourself to someone else, you are not focusing on your own path, your own next steps, your own unique strengths and challenges. Your focus is external, not internal.
So the immense benefit of practicing Ube-tori is that it forces you, or invites you, to focus inward, on your own journey, your own progress, what you can actually control.
It does. It's about recognizing that just because someone else's tree seems to be blooming or bearing fruit right now doesn't diminish the potential or the inherent beauty of your own tree. Your tree might just have different needs, a different growth cycle, and it will blossom in its own perfect time. It's about respecting that individual rhythm.
The real-life example in the source is super relatable. The young entrepreneur who is feeling discouraged because their business wasn't growing as quickly as their peers.
Oh yeah, classic scenario. They were measuring their success purely by an external metric speed of growth compared to others, probably based on what they were seeing on social media or hearing through industry buzz.
But the reality, the source says, was that they were actually building a more solid foundation for long-term success.
Yes. And that phrase, building a solid foundation, implies they're perhaps doing things differently. Maybe investing more time in infrastructure, or deeply understanding their specific market niche, or building really robust systems, or focusing on sustainable customer relationships.
Things that don't always show up as flashy, rapid growth right away.
Exactly. But things that create resilience and strength over the long haul. From the Ubitori perspective, their tree was developing deeper roots, even if the visible height wasn't increasing as fast as some others.
And by shifting their mindset away from that comparison game and focusing instead on their own foundational work, they regained confidence and momentum.
That mindset shift is everything. They stopped devaluing their own genuine progress just because it looked different from someone else's highlight reel. They started appreciating the strength they were building on their own unique path.
The application tip gives us a kind of mental mantra for when we catch ourselves falling into that comparison trap. Take a deep breath.
Ground yourself.
And remind yourself, everyone's journey is different. Focus on your own path, celebrate your wins, and trust that your timing is perfect.
Practicing this tip is like an active intervention against that comparison reflex. Taking the deep breath pulls you out of the anxiety spiral and into the present moment.
And what does it really mean to trust that your timing is perfect? Does that mean just sit back and wait?
No, not at all passive. It means believing that if you are putting in the work, if you're following your own intuition and navigating your own circumstances authentically, then your progress is happening exactly as it needs to for you. It's trusting the process you're engaged in.
And how does celebrating small wins, bringing back Kaizen here, help reinforce Ubitori?
Ah, great connection. It keeps your attention squarely focused on your actual progress, validating your efforts and accomplishments, no matter how small they seem. It anchors you in your reality, instead of leaving you feeling inadequate because someone else appears to be further along on their completely different path.
It's a powerful way to free up all that mental and emotional energy that gets wasted on comparison.
And redirect it towards building your own meaningful life at your own pace.
It really is. And accepting your unique path and timeline, including all the inevitable bumps and imperfections along the way, that transitions so smoothly to our next concept, which is all about finding beauty and peace in the transient and imperfect nature of life itself. Wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi. Yeah, this concept feels like it embraces the absolute opposite of our culture's obsession with newness, perfection, polish, and youth.
It really does.
Yeah.
How would you define it?
Well, wabi-sabi isn't easily pinned down by a single definition. It's more like an aesthetic, a worldview, a philosophy, a way of seeing.
Okay.
It celebrates imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. It finds beauty in things that are authentic, humble, maybe a bit worn, asymmetrical, transient. There's often a sense of quiet melancholy almost in things fading or changing.
So the core lesson is to find beauty in the impermanence of life itself.
Yes. Think of the classic example. The fleeting glory of cherry blossoms. They're considered so beautiful precisely because they last for such a short time.
Right. Or think of a well-loved wooden table with scratches and water rings.
Exactly. To a wabi-sabi eye, those aren't flaws to be fixed or hidden. They are marks of time, evidence of use, part of its story and its unique character. Wabi-sabi encourages a deep appreciation for the natural cycle of growth, decay, and renewal.
It sounds like a direct challenge to our very human resistance to change and our desire for things to last forever or stay pristine and perfect.
It absolutely is. We often fight against the natural flow of impermanence aging, things breaking down, seasons changing, circumstances shifting constantly. Wabi-sabi suggests finding peace, even a kind of quiet joy, in accepting this fundamental reality.
How does that help?
This mindset helps immensely in letting go of attachment. Attachment to how things used to be, how we used to look, how circumstances were arranged. By embracing impermanence, you can cultivate a deeper presence and find peace and gratitude in the present moment, appreciating what is right now, knowing it will inevitably change.
It's the opposite of constantly striving for some unattainable static state of perfection.
Precisely. Striving for eternal perfection is often a source of great suffering because it fundamentally contradicts the nature of reality. Wabi-sabi finds beauty within that change, in the wear and tear, in the slightly asymmetrical and the incomplete state of things. It values authenticity over artificial flawlessness.
The real-life example from the source captures this feeling beautifully, I thought. The friend visiting a Kyoto temple
Yes.
and being initially surprised, maybe even a bit put off, to be served matcha tea in chipped bowls.
Right. Our immediate reaction, coming from a culture that often values pristine condition, might be, whoa, this is damaged. This should be thrown away or hidden.
Yeah, isn't there a better one?
Exactly. But in the context of wabi-sabi, those chips, those imperfections, are not flaws to be concealed. They are part of the bowl's life story, its history of use, maybe evidence of previous mens, like kintsugi. They add character.
And the friend had that moment of realization, didn't they? About the transient nature of the bowls themselves, that they were meant to be used and enjoyed right then in that specific moment.
That's the core wabi-sabi insight right there. These weren't untouched artifacts sitting behind glass in a museum. They were functional, well-used objects embodying the passage of time, and they were intended to be appreciated within the fleeting, present ritual of drinking tea.
How does finding beauty in something typically discarded challenge our conventional aesthetics?
It completely shifts the focus, away from manufactured perfection and constant newness, towards authentic character, lived history, and the quiet dignity of age and use. It values the story embedded in an object or person or an experience over its pristine, untouched state.
The application tip suggests practicing mindfulness and gratitude specifically for the present moment, explicitly noticing the small, beautiful details and imperfections around you.
Mindfulness is absolutely key here. It's the practice of being fully present, which is essential for appreciating impermanence. When you're truly present, you can actually notice the subtle changes, the way the leaves are turning color day by day, the way the light falls differently across the room each hour, the lines on a loved one's face that tell their story.
And how does gratitude connect to accepting things as they are, flaws and all?
Gratitude allows you to appreciate the beauty and value that is present right now, rather than lamenting what's missing or changing or imperfect. You're grateful for the beauty as it is in this moment, even knowing it won't last forever in this exact form.
So by embracing impermanence through mindfulness and gratitude,
You cultivate, as the source says, a deeper appreciation for life's fleeting moments.
it's about finding profound beauty and peace, not by resisting change, but by flowing with it and appreciating the transient, imperfect nature of everything.
Beautifully put. And that acceptance of change and imperfection, even when circumstances become really difficult. That leads us directly to our final concept for today. This one is about facing hardship with inner strength and dignity.
Gaman.
Yeah.
Okay, the source emphasizes patience, perseverance, and dignity in the face of adversity. What does that mean in practice?
This is a deep and I think quite complex concept. It's often translated as enduring the seemingly unbearable with grace and resilience. It's about maintaining your composure, your integrity, your inner strength when circumstances are incredibly tough, challenging, and perhaps largely beyond your immediate control.
So the key lesson is meet hard times with patience and perseverance.
That's the essence. But it's crucial to understand this doesn't sound like passive acceptance or just resignedly sucking it up. It feels much more like an active internal fortitude.
It absolutely is not passive suffering. Gaman is active endurance. It's about consciously exercising inner discipline, finding strength from within, and maintaining a sense of dignity and purpose, even when the external situation is dire.
It's a demonstration of character, really, character forged in difficulty.
How so?
It's about refusing to be completely overcome by despair, or to abandon your values, or maybe your responsibility to others, even when you're under immense pressure.
The source uses a significant historical example to illustrate this point. The Japanese people practicing Gaman during World War II.
Yes. The source describes the actions taken by the Japanese populace during that incredibly difficult period, things like strictly rationing resources, making efforts to maintain calm as much as possible, and actively supporting one another despite immense hardship, loss, and profound uncertainty.
And these actions are presented as illustrations of that patience, perseverance, and collective commitment to dignity in the face of overwhelming adversity.
Exactly. And their resilience during that period is described in the source as becoming a kind of symbol of national pride and strength.
So that highlights the power of Gaman, especially when it's a collective practice, facing shared adversity together.
Yes. Facing shared adversity and choosing to endure it with resilience, mutual support, and a focus on maintaining inner strength that can become a powerful demonstration of collective fortitude. The source presents this, I should note, impartially, focusing on the actions of enduring hardship, the rationing, the efforts to stay calm, the mutual support as tangible examples of how the concept of Gaman was manifested under extreme duress and how that resilience was subsequently viewed.
Okay. So for us, applying this today means when we face our own personal difficulties, maybe illness, job loss, relationship struggles, any major challenge, we can consciously tap into this idea of Gaman.
Precisely. The application tip suggests reminding yourself of Gaman when you're facing difficulty, taking a deep breath. That simple act is an immediate way to ground yourself, to create a moment of pause before reacting out of panic or despair.
It connects directly to patience, doesn't it?
It does. Staying patient doesn't necessarily mean inaction. It means enduring the waiting period, the uncertainty, the discomfort, without succumbing to franticness or giving up hope. And critically, it means trusting your own strength to overcome.
What does it really mean to trust that you have the strength to overcome in the context of Gaman?
I think it's about accessing that inner reservoir of resilience that we all have, but maybe don't realize until we're truly tested. Gaman is that quiet, determined belief in your fundamental ability to persevere.
As the source states, true character is revealed in challenging times.
Exactly. And practicing Gaman is consciously choosing to reveal that character. It's facing difficulty with a calm resolve and inner fortitude, even when the external storm is raging and you can't see the end yet. It's about maintaining control over your inner state, your dignity, your attitude, your will to persist, regardless of the external circumstances.
It's a profound form of inner power, isn't it? Focusing on what you can control, your attitude, your perseverance, when maybe everything else feels completely out of control.
Exactly. It's about enduring with a quiet grace.
Wow. We have truly delved deep into 7 incredibly powerful Japanese concepts today. Let's recap quickly. Kaizen.
Continuous small improvements.
Kintsugi.
Finding beauty and strength in repair in our mended history.
Hara-hachibu.
Mindful nourishment. Listening to our bodies, eating to 80% full.
Ikigai.
Discovering our reason for being, our purpose.
Ubitori.
Embracing our own unique timeline, letting go of comparison.
Wabi-sabi.
Finding peace and beauty in impermanence and imperfection.
And finally, Gaman.
Cultivating dignified perseverance through hardship.
They offer such rich, interconnected ways of thinking about how to live, don't they?
They really do. They feel like practical tools, not just abstract ideas, for living more intentionally, more gracefully, more resiliently, and maybe more authentically in a world that often pushes us towards speed, external validation, and impossible standards of perfection.
Absolutely. And like any profound shift in perspective or practice, integrating these concepts into your life, well, it takes time. It requires practice. And it definitely demands patience with yourself.
Remember that Kaizen spirit we started with? Start small.
Yeah, start small. Celebrate those tiny victories along the way as you try these things out. Trust the process of learning and growing with these ideas. You've got this.
It's definitely a continuous journey, isn't it? A journey of deepening understanding and living more consciously.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to carry with you from this deep dive. When you look at all these concepts together, Kaizen, Kintsugi, Hara-hachibu, Ikigai, Ubitori, Wabi-sabi, Gaman, they seem to paint a picture of a truly transformed life, but maybe not transformed in the way we usually think.
How so?
Well, it doesn't seem to be about erasing your past, or achieving some flawless state of perfection, or reaching some externally defined pinnacle of success overnight. Instead, perhaps a life lived with the wisdom of these concepts is one that deeply accepts its own unique, imperfect history. Much like Kintsugi highlights the cracks with gold.
A life that values its story.
Yeah. It's a life that finds its personal rhythm and purpose. It's Ikigai and Ubitori, regardless of what others are doing or how fast they seem to be moving. It finds beauty in the transient, flawed reality of the world through Wabi-sabi.
Appreciating the now.
And faces its inevitable challenges and hardships with that quiet internal strength and dignity, practicing Gaman, all while building itself step by step with Kaizen and staying grounded and mindful through Hara-hachibu.
So if transformation comes not from presenting some perfect, unblemished facade to the world, but from highlighting your unique story's cracks with gold, from finding your own pace and purpose, from appreciating the fleeting beauty of the imperfect present, and from enduring difficulties with grace,
then the question for you is, how might you look at your own path forward differently starting today?
Something to ponder.
Definitely something to ponder as you go about your day, your week, and your journey.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Japanese concepts.